Lesson 17. At the camp. Vocabulary. Camp equipment.
Hello. Today we're going to review question words and then we're going to study noun clauses. And first, let's learn some new vocabulary. A camp. A camp. A camp is a place where young people go to relax and take part in activities, often as part of an organization. For example, Boy Scouts. A tent. A tent. A tent is a shelter consisting of a sheet of cloth supported by poles and ropes, and it's used by campers, people who camp. Now, to put up a tent is called to pitch a tent. A stake. A stake. A stake is a pointed piece of wood or metal pushed into the ground with a rope tied to it. It's used to hold up a tent. We have an axe. An axe. An axe is a tool with a heavy metal blade on the end of a long handle, and it's used to cut down trees. A hatchet. A hatchet. This is a small axe with a short handle. A campfire. A campfire. This is a fire made outdoors by people who are camping. Okay, now we have a marshmallow. A marshmallow. Marshmallow is a very light, soft, sweet, and it's usually white or pink. We can roast marshmallows over a campfire. It's a very popular campfire activity. A lantern. A lantern is a lamp that campers carry. It's made of metal or glass. It's a metal or glass container surrounding a flame or a light. It can be electric or it can be with actually something burning. A sleeping bag. A sleeping bag. This is a large warm bag that unrolls for campers to sleep in. And here we have a hammock. A hammock. A hammock is a thing for sleeping in or sleeping on. It's a long piece of cloth or net, and it's hung between two trees or two poles or bars or anything you can hang something between. Okay, over here we can put a grill. A grill. A grill is a flat frame with metal bars across it. It can be put over a fire so that food can be placed on top and cooked quickly. A lifeguard. A lifeguard. This is a person who works at a camp to help swimmers who are in danger. A raft. A raft. A raft is a flat floating structure that you can sit on or you can jump from it when you are swimming. An inner tube. An inner tube. This is an air-filled rubber tube used to sit on or stand on in the water. You actually find this on the inside of a car tire and people use it to swim with. Okay, next we have a bow. A bow. A bow is a weapon. It's made of a long, thin, curved piece of wood. And with a bow, you always need an arrow. This is a thin, straight stick with a point on one end, and you shoot it from the bow. A target. A target. A target is a round board with coloured circles on it. You practice shooting with a target. Now, the place where you have many targets is called an archery range. Two more have a rowboat. A rowboat. It's a small boat that you move through the water with using oars. And what are oars? O-A-R-S, oars. These are long pieces of wood. They're flat at the ends and you use them to row a rowboat. Let's go over these words once again. A camp, a tent, a stake, an axe, a hatchet, a campfire, a marshmallow. a lantern, a sleeping bag, and a hammock. Okay, over here we have a grill, a lifeguard and a raft, an inner tube, a bow and an arrow, a target, a rowboat, and finally, oars.
Question words.
Okay, let's start our lesson and let's begin with the review of question words. Now we're going to divide our question words into two groups. We'll have W question words and then we'll have the how question words. How question words. Well, let's begin with the review of the W question word. Here are some examples for you to look at. The first one, when did they build the campfire? Where are the stakes for the tent? Why didn't Alice bring an inner tube for herself? Whose inner tube will she use? Which raft do you want to swim to? And who will buy marshmallows? Each of these sentences begins with a W question word. We have when, and this is for time. We have where, and this is for place. We have why. This is for a reason. We have whose. Whose is for possession. Right. We also have which. We use which for choosing. Choosing from a group. If we know how many, a definite quantity in a group, we want to know which one. So choosing from a group. And we have who, which is a subject word. Can be a subject or an object word. And it's for people. Subject or an object for people. And last, we also have one more. We have this one, whom. Whom is very formal. It's a subject, an object question of who. For example, if I could have for whom will you buy marshmallows? We had the subject question, who will buy the marshmallows? The object question is, for whom will you buy the marshmallows? This is the subject, this is the object. So it's very formal. Okay, now these question words can be used with all verb tenses, and they can also be used in the middle of an indirect question. Let's have a look at some indirect questions now. Could you tell me when the campfire was built? Would you tell me where the stakes for the tent are? Okay, let's practice these now. Let's start with a review of question words beginning with W, and I want you to go around twice and asking each other W questions. Okay, Rosa, you can begin. I guess you'll be asking Monica, and then Monica will ask Lewis, Rosa, and again.
This is simple. Monica, when did you go to a camp first?
I first went to a camp when I was 16. It was like a Girl Scouts camp. It was fun and there were lots of handsome boys.
Oh, really?
Rosa, where will your niece go to camp next year?
She will go to a beautiful camp on a big lake. They will sleep in big tents. Louise, why didn't you go to a camp when you were a child?
There aren't many camps in Portugal. Only the rich kids go. Monica,
yeah.
Who did you meet at your camp?
I met my best friend Krista. She's a very good person. Rosa?
Yeah?
Whose bikini did you wear at camp?
We couldn't wear bikinis, silly girl. Louise, which camp did you want to go to?
I wanted to go to a camp near the border of Spain. It was in Prines.
Yeah.
Very good, everyone. That was an excellent job. Okay, so now, which will you do? Look or listen? I think both.
Look and listen.
When does the camp bus leave for the lake? Where are the grills for the barbecues? Could you tell me why Greg didn't want to come to camp this summer? Who are those children in the tent?
Read and repeat.
Now, of course, there is one more question word that begins with W, and that is, of course, what. So let's have a look at questions beginning with this W question word. Here's an example. What made the children in that tent ill? Now, in this sentence, we have what as a subject. Here's another example. What did Sean put in the rowboat? In this sentence, we have what as an object. Sean put what in the rowboat? What did Sean put? Next sentence. What kind of lanterns should I bring? Now, in this sentence, we have what kind, and this means a particular variety or a particular type. Particular variety or type. What kind of lanterns? Big, small, electrical, or just flame? Okay, now we've got another sentence here. What are the children doing in the water after 9 o'clock? This is what plus a form of do. What are the children doing? Present continuous. And we use this to talk or ask about activities. Right, another sentence here. What inner tubes did Lance bring? In this sentence we have what plus a noun. What inner tubes did Lance bring? And they must go together. It must be what and then inner tubes or the noun together. Okay, another sentence. What is Camp Babcock Hovey like? Okay, in this sentence we have what plus be like. So what is like, what was like, what will it be like? What plus be like. And this asks about a general description or something's qualities. What plus be like for a general description or general qualities. And lastly, we have this sentence. What does Terry's hatchet look like? So this is different from what plus be like. This is what plus look like. This is only talking about a physical description. What you can see. Well, let's practice. Let's again go around using the question word what, and this time Lewis, you can go first.
Rosa,
Yeah.
what did you need to bring with you when you went to camp?
I had to bring my sleeping bag and clothes. Monica, what kind of clothes did you bring with you?
I brought warm clothes. We went to camp in September. Luis, what did your brother do when you went to camp?
I never went to camp.
Okay.
Rosa, what boys did you meet at camp?
I met some handsome boys. They were interesting. Monica,
Yeah.
What was your tent look like at your camp?
It wasn't bad. We had a hole in the door flap, and when it rained, we had a problem.
Oh.
Great job, everybody. And now, what do you say about doing a look and listen?
Look and listen.
What does the camp manager look like? What was the weather like when you were at camp? What colour is Olive's tent? What were the children roasting over the campfire last night?
Read and repeat.
Right, well now let's review question words beginning with how. Here are some examples for you. How old is the camp director? How cold is the lake water? How soon can you get oars for the rowboat? How fast can Mary swim? Right, well how is often used with adjectives and with adverbs. But we can also use how in many other ways, as in these examples here. How long has Nellie been using that sleeping bag? Now in this sentence, how long asks about length of time. How long, length of time. Okay, next, how often do you sleep in the hammock? In this sentence, how often refers to frequency. How far is the raft from shore? Okay, in this sentence, how far is asking about distance. Next, we have how did you carry all of those tents? So how, on its own, just plain old how, asks about manner. Right, two more sentences. How much was the new lantern? And how many sleeping bags should we bring? How much and how many ask about quantity. Okay, let's do a quick review of these how questions. Lewis, how often do you wish you had gone to camp when you were a kid?
Not very often. I spend my time practicing football. Now I'm good.
Great. And Monica, how far was your camp from home?
It was very far. I think my parents wanted to be far away, and when I got homesick, I couldn't come back home.
I see. Rosa, how did you go to camp?
I swam. No, I did. The camp was down the lake from our house.
Okay, that must have been great. Right, okay, thank you very much. How about we look and listen?
Look and listen.
How was the weather at camp? How much did your new axe cost? How old is that target? How hot will it be at camp tomorrow?
Read and repeat. Noun clauses.
Okay, well now let's look at noun clauses. And before we do this, let's learn what a clause is. A clause is a group of words containing a subject and a verb. It must have a subject and a verb. And there are different kinds of clauses. We have a main clause. Okay? Main clause. This is a complete sentence. It doesn't need anything else. It can exist all by itself. It's a main sentence. It has a subject and a verb because it's a clause. And here are two examples of main clauses. We have Anne works at a camp. And another one is, where is Anne? Now both these sentences have a subject, Anne, and this is the subject, where, and the verb, works and is. So they are both complete sentences, therefore they are both main clauses. They're called main. Sometimes you can call them independent clause. So main clause or an independent clause. Now a dependent clause is not a complete sentence. Dependent clause. And this is not a complete sentence. Okay? It must be connected to a main clause. It cannot exist only on its own. So it must be connected to a main clause. It usually begins with a question word, but it isn't necessarily a question. Let's look at one example here. The camp where Anne works is near a lake. Okay, the camp where Anne works is near a lake. Now, where Anne works, this is the dependent clause. It's a bit of a funny dependent clause. Okay? It's not a complete sentence. It's not a question. It begins with a question word, but it's not a complete sentence, and it needs to be connected to this, which is the main clause. The camp is near a lake. It's a complete sentence. The camp is near a lake. This is our main clause. Right. It's a sentence. It can be on its own. One more example. When I went to the tent, comma, Ashley was sleeping. When I went to the tent, Ashley was sleeping. Now, when I went to the tent is our dependent clause. And the main clause, you can probably guess this one, Ashley was sleeping. Dependent clause with a D, main clause with an M. Okay, let's practice this now. Does everyone understand what a clause is?
Sure. A clause has a subject and a verb. It can be a main clause that is a sentence, or it can be a dependent clause that isn't a sentence. And a dependent clause must have a main clause to be a sentence.
Wow, you're really good today, Lewis.
Always I am.
What happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I fell in love.
Maybe you did. Okay. Hopefully not with me though.
No, I hope so.
Okay. Monica, what's the main clause, what's the dependent clause in this sentence? I didn't know which camp she was at.
Which camp she was at is the dependent clause.
Wonderful. What's the main clause in this sentence, Rosa? I heard Ken when he entered the tent.
I heard Ken is the main clause. It's a sentence.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so now we understand what main clauses and dependent clauses are. It's time to look at noun clauses, so please take a look at these sentences. I don't know why the oars are missing. Hank couldn't hear what the camp director said. Does Dan know when the new stakes will arrive? Okay, I need some space for this, so let's clean the board, and then we'll look at noun clauses. Okay, a noun clause. A noun clause is a subject, or we can use a noun clause as a subject or as an object. In the first sentence, why the oars are missing. This is a noun clause, and it is the object of the verb know. I don't know why the oars are missing. Okay, the second sentence, what the camp director said. What the camp director said. This is a noun clause, and it is the object of the verb hear. The sentence was, Hank couldn't hear what the camp director said. So this is the object of the verb hear. In the third sentence, when the stakes will arrive, this is also a noun clause, and this is the object of the verb know. Does Dan know when the stakes will arrive? That's the object. Now in each of these sentences, the noun clause begins with a question word, but it's not a question. In a noun clause, the subject comes before the verb. So that means we don't use question word order. In a noun clause, we don't use question word order. This is not a question. When the stakes will arrive is not a question. The question would be, when will the stakes arrive? So it's not a question. We don't use question word order. Subject comes before the verb. Let's look at some sentences where the noun clause is used as a subject now. Where the camp was surprised me. What the camp director should do is obvious. In the first sentence, this is a noun clause, and in this sentence it's the subject. It comes before the verb surprise. Where the camp was surprised me. This is our subject of the verb surprise. Yeah. And the second sentence, we have what the camp director should do. What the camp director should do. And this is the subject of the verb is. Subject of is. What the camp director should do, subject of the verb is. What the camp director should do is obvious. And remember, a question word is still used to begin the noun clause when it's a subject. Okay, let's practice this now. Monica, tell me about your camp director.
He was a real nice guy, and Krista really liked him. What he did at the lake really shocked me. He put on a bikini and swam to the raft.
Wow, he must have been crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, Lewis, tell me about the camps in Portugal.
I don't know who runs them. I have never been to one.
Okay. Rosa, how about your director? What about him?
I never knew who he was. There were about 1,000 children at our camp. It was very big.
I guess so. Okay. Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And what I want you to do now is look and listen.
Look and listen.
Fred must learn where the grills are kept. Ron couldn't hear what the lifeguard said. Does she know when the new hammocks will arrive? Jack can't see who is in the lake.
Read and repeat.